My friend, Danny Fenster, is an American journalist who's been detained by the military in Myanmar, the junta, while boarding a flight back to the United States to visit his family. Danny's being held at the insane prison near Yangon, and we are calling for Danny's release in order for a free press to exist. We're hoping for Danny's safe return and sending love to the entire Fenster family.
Welcome to Galaxy Tenants' first in-studio session. On this episode, we feature a conversation with Roosevelt Collier, his song Shuffle, and a celebration of the Sega Genesis classic Toejam Earl, courtesy of Jeff Ervine.
I'm joined today by my friend and work associate, Roosevelt Collier.
Yeah, man. What's up, man? How are you? How are you doing, man?
I'm good, man.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has been a minute. I haven't seen you in over a year, which in the 7 years we've known each other, I don't think that's ever happened until this past year.
Has not happened. It's been over a year, you're right. More like a year and maybe like a year and 4 months, years, 5, 6 months. So, yeah.
What have you been doing the past year? Like, what does that look like for a touring musician who has to sit at home? Tell me about how your last year's been.
Well, first of all, let me just say that, again, I'm happy to see you. Happy to see Denver. Man, it's been a life-changing event, man. You know, just like everybody, man. Things have shifted. You know, certain things have changed, of course, with like touring and, you know, plan is still there, of course, but, you know, it's just the whole aspect of the road life and touring, you know, that whole thing had just ceased for us, and so we are now at a point where we are able to start back slowly playing, which feels kind of weird but great at the same time. But you know things had changed, you know, for us, like, you know, like in a good way and bad, but mostly good. I was able to spend time with family, kids, and wife, and which was much needed. I have not ever took a vacation this long since I started touring, so I guess that's up to this longevity pandemic that we had, you know. So like I was able to, you know, have that whole aspect of my life brought back to me, you know, like in a light, which was much needed, just to be able to now be a homeschool teacher. Goodness. Listen, man, I don't know if I hope my kids got smarter with me teaching them. If they don't, you know, it's daddy's fault. You know, hey, listen, you know what, man, I know what's 1 + 1. I don't know all the pi and all the biology calculus. I don't know, you know, all that stuff.
I bet you learned some things.
Oh yeah,
from your kids.
Of course I did. You know, I learned how to be patient.
Yeah, man. Being a musician and then having to become this teacher that's at home with your kids all day. Were you ever just trying to like run out the door?
Oh, listen, I'm still doing it now. I'm still a whole year later. I'm trying to get out the door, but you know what, man, I definitely learned a whole bunch of stuff, you know. Just a whole nother world, you know, just a whole different world, you know. Spending more time with the kids, playing music with them, you know, it was like a whole fresher breath air, you know. So things changed in all of our lives, you know.
So are your kids interested in the steel?
Yes, my daughter is a beast. She's gonna kill me for saying this, cause she's still kind of shy, but she practices, and she naturally have rhythm. So like a lot of stuff I don't need to kind of like, you know, teach her about, you know, hey, you know, we're gonna on the 2 and 4, not the 1 and 3, you know. She just naturally have rhythm. So, and then my baby boy, you know, he follows, and he just think that he knows everything already. So I can't teach him nothing yet because he knows it all. You know, even if I'm trying to, it's a no, daddy, no, I got it. I'm like, yeah, no, you don't. But, you know, in his mind,
no, you don't, but your sister does.
Yeah, right. You know, but my oldest son, he's into more like of the part of the music, so he's learning to become my tech now, my stage manager, my stage guy. He's learning how to do that. So you know what, I basically just built my own team.
That's sweet.
I'm thinking smart. I'm thinking futuristic.
Take the family on the road.
Right. So yeah, man.
So we met 7 years ago, and I want to go back. Actually,
crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I want to go back even just before that, a significant time before that for me and for you. I want to talk a little bit about our two different backgrounds in discovering steel music. And we don't have to get too much into it because I know every interview you do, people are like, "Hey, tell me about the church, tell me about steel, all that." But
let's do it.
I want to talk about our different backgrounds and how we both found this same music and fell in love with it. For me, I found slide guitar music mainly through the Allman Brothers Band, which you had a chance to play with, and that blows my mind. We'll come back to that.
Right.
And then through that music, I found Robert Randolph opened for Greg Allman one time near my hometown.
Wow. Michigan?
In Michigan, yeah. And I got to see the pedal steel for the first time in that setting. Because I'd seen it in the country setting, and it's a very different thing, obviously.
Totally different world.
But I was exposed to the church steel.
Sacred steel.
Sacred steel.
Yes.
And I got to meet Pastor Ted.
Yeah, Ted Beard.
Yeah. I got to meet Calvin Cook. And I got to go see those guys play. We would see the Campbell brothers.
It's the foundation, man.
And in the Detroit area, there is this history within the black church scene of that, which, to be candid, the white people don't know anything about. There just isn't that. In the white church, there's organ and, there's different kind of music. But the steel is really featured in the black church. Yeah,
it is. So versus like another church where you may have like a organ out front or like a piano out front, here we have a steel, which is completely different, and that alone just actually sets us out, different. And you know what, man, there's a way of us playing it that just touched souls, and you know what, man, our whole thing was to help the service, help the preacher, help the service, help the spirit. So, we spend our lifetime playing behind like these singers, these belchers, that can just moan from their stomach, and we will just spend years and years of just actually just mimicking them, and playing with the preachers and things of that nature. But yeah, so like our church definitely like this still is out front. It's like a rock and roll concert. Well, I can talk about when I was there. It was like a rock and roll concert every Sunday, Wednesday night, Friday night. It was literally like a rock and roll concert. If you can imagine going at a show without a PA system, with no mics or no amps. This is back in the day, and everything is just full on 10. That was our church back then.
What specifically drew you to that instrument? How did you find the steel? Like, how did it make it into your hands?
I was born in the sound, so like all of my family played. My grandfather, Pastor Robert Lee, then his sons, Glenn Lee, Alvin Lee, like of the Lee boys. So I was hand taught by my uncle Glenn Lee, he was like a freak of nature, like on the steel, and he taught me like everything I knew, which that sound is definitely part of the sacred steel entire sound, So like, to make a long story short, when we was little, me and my cousin Alvin Cordy, he plays bass. That's the Lee Boys bass player. So we were young, and of course by this time I'm like 11, he's like 14, 15, and we're like playing everything by now. So my Uncle Glenn and Uncle Alvin take me and Alvin outside the church. This is on a Wednesday night. I remember it's like it was yesterday. Take us outside the church, and I literally stop us and say, "Hey, listen, like y'all got to pick right now. Who's playing what? Who's playing the bass? Who's playing the steel?" It literally went. That was the conversation, and of course he's older, so he picked up like, "Okay, I'm playing the bass." So They just said, okay, that's done. Roosevelt, you're playing it still, and that's it. And I was like, okay. And literally, that's history. And that was a conversation. Like, it happened just like that.
So from the church,
Yeah.
the Campbell brothers are who I first saw at folk festivals and things like that. And they really helped bring the steel into a more mainstream light, as did Robert. But the Campbell brothers first,
yes,
for sure.
Absolutely,
yeah, absolutely.
Those are the godfathers.
And
Campbell, Derek Campbell. God bless Derek Campbell, but yes.
They played Bonnaroo. I mean, those guys, very mainstream. And it changed. I guess what I would ask you, as opposed to projecting what it changed, I would ask you what it changed within the church. And how did the church feel about musicians hitting the road? And we don't have to get too controversial about it, but I will be the first to say, talking to some of these players, it seemed that at times it was problematic before it wasn't.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem. It was very problematic because... open up the Pandora's box that's already open. So, because of the fact that this music was sacred, church stuff. So this music was supposed to be inside of those four walls. This what it was. But you know what, man? It's evidence that this music was supposed to be outside of the four walls, just to touch thousands of people versus hundreds of people. That's your main mission, correct? It's to touch people, not just to be selfish and touch like a few hundred versus like a few 10,000. So yes, so once they started going outside of the church, it caused a very much problematic. There were things in the churches where where the players were getting silenced. No, it's a known fact. So there's nothing to kind of hide about it. But yeah, they were getting silenced or getting kicked out of church or couldn't play in their church. But so it was a real deal.
I would compare that in some way, although a very different genre. I would compare that to what happened and what is still happening on some level in bluegrass music, where the traditionalists want a certain thing for the music and their expectation of the music. When the music changes or veers from that path, right, it's problematic for the genre or for everybody.
Exact same thing.
As bluegrass has become more progressive and as bands have come from different backgrounds and they're not just playing the Bill Monroe sound,
right,
I guess what I would ask is that as the music progressed, much like in bluegrass music, as it changed, it progressed, it grew, the audiences were bigger.
Right.
Did the same thing happen in the church, and where is it now, given the changes that the genre's undergone?
So Justin, you know what, man? I've been out of that church scene for like a decade plus, just because of the nature of the stuff I'm doing. But from when I was there, once the church basically booted out like a lot of the players, the growth of the church did not succeed. It would have been more if they would have just kind of embraced it and saw this as I can win more souls or I can gain more people here, and then I can help get them to where I need to get them, versus let me not embrace what's happening and kind of just lose a lot of the folks. So but that was then. Right now it's still strong, but I feel as though that it will be 10 times, 30 times, 50 times stronger if they would have just embraced that whole movement at that time. Sure.
So remove the church from the scene and let's just talk about the music only.
Music,
how has the music changed? I can only imagine that in the church you guys weren't playing Jimi Hendrix.
Listen, let me not say, because with my family, with my grandfather, he was totally open with us playing things. So by default, man, we were playing like Stevie Wonder in church, and certain riffs. Man, my uncles, they were bringing in all of this type of stuff in with the sound, but just making it their own. Mm-hmm. So from me, that was always able to have that open. Now, like other churches, no, you are playing just the church music that's, that's set kind of, like in stone. Now, like we fast forward to now, like you have like a lot of the younger guys, which of course they hear us playing, and so they are like in church now playing maybe like some of our records, and which is pretty funny.
So they're coming into the church hearing your music and hearing some of that other stuff.
They are coming into the church hearing us, Robert, hearing Chucknam, and playing their stuff inside.
And so it cycles back into the church.
It still cycles back because
that's interesting.
So it's pretty wild to see, but it's just all about evolving at some point,
Sure. The one last thing I want to say about the church scene is I want to acknowledge a player that I really enjoy that came out of the church scene, and that's Corey Henry.
Right.
On keys.
Yes. Oh, of course.
And are there any other musicians that people should keep an eye out for, or that you see up and coming? Or
man, there's a lot of them, man. I hate to kind of like just name drop, because the fact that because of social media, one, dude, there's tons of, you can say it's like just like bad players, bad cats everywhere. There's like you have your Corys, like you have your Sharkies, like you have your Tommies. There's a lot of, I'm just saying, there's a lot of bad guys that's just coming out, period, and it's due to social media now, which is like a huge thing. But man, I can't just name just one. I definitely can't. But I think like in the next year or two, like you'll see a whole slew of new players, coming out like on the scene for sure.
I can't wait, because it only makes the scene better.
It only makes the scene better. Well, I definitely like this guy by the name of Mono Neon.
Did he come out of the church?
Yeah.
Did he? I didn't know. I mean, it sounds like it in that groove. That's some deep groove.
Yes.
Okay.
Deep stuff.
I really appreciate that perspective of the church. I think it's such a fascinating scene, and I always like to know where certain kinds of music that I appreciate come from. I want to talk about our history, and it was 7 years ago yesterday that we played our first show together, did our first show in Colorado, and it was at the Fox Theater in Boulder, followed by 2 nights in Denver, Colorado.
Wow.
And I remember reaching out to you and saying, hey, you know, I think Colorado would appreciate you. And I remember you saying, and I was nervous.
Right.
Because, you know, I'm just reaching out, just telling you I think that a state would love you. And I remember you saying, yeah, man, let's do it. Go ahead and put together a band.
Yeah. You know why? Okay. All right. So Justin, this was the thing, is that you came to me very differently than just any other person that's come, hey, you know what? Let me just book you here. You talk so much good sense to me, you know, like you was like, hey, you know what, man, I think that this will work for you. I think that they love you out here. Like, you know what, blah, 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 this, X, Y, and Z. Giving me facts and, you know, just like a well-rounded background of myself, which I didn't even know that you knew all of that stuff about me. And so, you know what, man, it's certain things that just make you say, let's do it, you know? And the fact of your phone call and just to talk with you, I was like, man, this felt right, you know, this feels right. And that was 7 years ago. I was like, man, let's just do it, man. Let's get the band together. Let's do it, man.
So I remember you saying to me, let me know who you think should be in the band out there, and, you know, name some players. And every player I sent you was just a flat out yes. Yeah. Just yep. So I want to talk through some of those players in the first band in that first run, just because I do think it was something that was really special. And folks can find it on YouTube. And I remember the first thing, and this is always the most important thing to you from the get-go, and it's the rhythm section.
Always. Number one. That was my number one thing. I said, listen, that's my very, you know, man, any band I play with of mine, you know, man, I have to have the rhythm section is key. Number one, I have to have my drummer and bass player. They have to be like a top notch, you know, or, you know, just a solid crew. But yes, you're right. And
that said, enter Garrett Sayers and Dave Watts from the Motet.
Jesus Christ. With that being said, like I couldn't have got any better choice.
And then I thought it would be good to just take it over the top. And even though there was a steal, I thought, why don't we have some keys in there and have Joey Porter from the Motet? And that core group from the Motet, Dave on drums, Garrett on bass, and Joey on keys. Yes. That is one of my favorite units of musicians in Colorado.
I think that, you know what, I think I got spoiled because my first show out here was with those three. And just freaking Dave Watts on the drums was just crazy. And then freaking Garrett Sayers, which I call him the Hawk, man, it was mind blowing just to have them two. But then, like you bring in Joey, you know, it's another rap, you know.
And then for fun, I thought, who else can we add to this that would be completely out of the realm? I didn't want to go in the funk realm, and I wanted to do something different. Yeah. And so I pitched to you Andy Thorne on banjo from Leftover Salmon, because what would a banjo sound like with that? Let's find out.
Man, listen. But listen, that was the unit, and it worked out better than we thought, I think. Like totally better than we thought. You know, the very first show.
Dude, I got to tell you, and we don't ever talk about this again. I literally may have had tears in my eyes the first time I heard that sound check at the Fox Theater and first heard what it was going to sound like for the next 3 days.
What the sound? Listen, and so what makes it so nice and crazy is the fact that I've never played with these guys. You know, we've never played. We just met. You know, basically just met that day, and the sound check, I was like, oh my God, this is finna be bananas nuts. And you add in Andy Thorne, and that was a whole nother rap, man. Listen, I had no clue. I mean, I had a clue, but it was different, you know, like in person. Man, I was like, oh my God, I did not practice enough, you know.
That's the first thing. And he was doing all that while he was stoned. Yeah, that band, man, that was really special. And then we ended up adding in Dom Lally and Jeremy Salkin from Big Gigantic.
So listen, so our very first show out there was a huge deal. I had no idea how these guys just came out of the woodworks. But man, it was such a big deal for us just to have the whole scene out there with us.
It was like Jam Cruise on land.
It was literally like Jam Cruise.
Jam Cruise posted about it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
it was great. We got great support.
I know, like
on
absolutely.
That run.
Like, you know what? That's just the Fox Theater show. You know, that's the first show. You know, and I'm saying that's just the first show. That was bananas and nuts that we had that much of love and receive like all of that love just from the players alone. You know, that made that weekend like insane, you know?
That's one of my favorite things about Colorado is all of the musicians turn out as fans to support the other musicians who are coming into town and whatnot.
Right.
And it's a great scene as far as that goes. And then I remember night one in Denver, we added, I think, Kim Dawson and LaDamian.
Yes, LaDamian, yeah.
So
Kim Dawson and LaDamian, oh my God.
So that was great. That was banging. And then after Lettuce was done at Red Rocks, they came over to Cervantes on night two, and we had Krasno and Jesus and Deitch.
Yeah. You know,
on the other side of Cervantes, which is not a huge room.
Correct. Night two, Cervantes, the same lineup, but you add Dom them again, then you add Deitch and Jesus and you know, Krasno just came and just jambushed the stage. And I thought that night one was crazy, but I think night two, I possibly had a small stroke. Possibly.
So awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Also on that run, you did a duo at the Second Story Garage.
Was it that run?
It was that run, and it was just you and Andy Thorne. And Andy Thorne was on electric banjo, and the two of you did a duo thing. So I would encourage people to check out the videos of the full shows that you did. If they go on YouTube and they put Roosevelt Collier, Cervantes, those two shows will pop up from 2014. And then if you search Roosevelt Collier and Andy Thorne, you'll see the 3 separate videos from the Second Story Garage. And I just want to talk about that real quick and segue into your duo with another Andy.
Right.
You and Andy Thorne, just the 2 instruments, it created so much sound.
Yeah.
And then you ended up doing an album later with you and Andy Hall from the infamous String Dusters. And again, 2 instruments, a ton of sound. Tell me about the duo format and not having drums and bass and all that.
All right, so let's go back to me and Andy Thorne. That was wild because we literally made like 3 to 4 songs on the spot. On the spot right then and there. You was there. We made 3 songs. Brand new songs, ripping on the spot. Y'all can go and see this. That's why if you watch the video of it, we are both laughing like, oh my God, that just happened. And
I think you incorporated them into the sets for that.
We incorporated those songs into the set, which I do it now still. I think that, and listen, we named the tunes right then and there. I think that Justin named one of the tunes called Skunk Mountain.
I think I may have.
Yeah. Yeah, but we did 3 tunes right then and there. You know what, man, just the dynamic with me and Andy Thorne was just so great playing together. And we was like, dude, you know what, man, if we had that opportunity, which it came up, that's what we did. It felt right, just felt natural just to have that playing just a banjo and still, we just felt right. And then we was just able to have fun and make those songs like on the spot. Listen, that's stuff there like you won't ever catch again,
It was incredible. I remember just being so impressed, and it takes a lot for me. I've seen a lot of music, and same with you. You played with a lot of people, and when you're hitting it, and I felt like we hit it that whole run.
Oh, dude, we did.
And from there, built quite a following out here. Not only was Colorado receptive, as I had speculated it might be, but I mean, we did 7 more years of shows with guys like O'Teal Burbridge from Allman Brothers and Dead and Company. Bill Nershi from String Cheese has done a bunch of shows with us. I mean,
we have Nershi, O'Til. Man, we've had a number of casts. Vince Herman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, we have had a number of awesome players, big time players, come through this whole run with us. You know.
When I think back to those runs, I think of like really positive experiences of you and I and Carly and sometimes some other friends, you know, and musicians rolling up to the mountains in a motorhome or my Jeep and hoping that the Eisenhower tunnel's open so that we can make it to our gigs.
And, goodness.
I mean, there's been so many times where we're sitting at that tunnel hoping that it's going to open up or that we can get to the gigs. But I have so many fond memories of some really special times up there and some special venues.
Yeah.
And I want to use that to segue into asking you, what are some of your favorite venues across the country? If you can just name a few, just off the top of your head.
Across the country or in this state?
Nope, I want to know across the country.
Oh,
I mean,
that's okay. So, man, you know what? That's a tough one because it's so many great ones. But if I would have to name my top, let's just do top 3. All right, or top 5.
Sure.
All right, let's do. First one would be definitely Spirit of Swanee, like in Florida. If you haven't been at that park for music, then you are missing out. There's a certain spirit that stays in that park, which everybody that goes there knows about it and they talk about it. Every festival that's there has that same spirit, you know?
When I was living in the Detroit area, Matt and Terry and I rode down in their motorhome from Detroit to the Spirit of Swanee, about 20 plus hours, and we went to Springfest, and then we drove back the 20 some hours to Detroit, and then 2 or 3 weeks later we drove the 20 or so hours back for Wani,
yep.
And then drive back, and we did that for a few years in a row, and some of the best times of my life. And I love that that's just, you're leading off with the Spirit of Swanee. I think that's such a classic, wonderful choice.
It's such a classic place. And so, you know what? That's one of them. Back when All Good Fest was around, that was another nice venue, you know, to play at.
Marvin's Mountaintop, is that the one you're talking about in West Virginia?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That one was so nice. Then
I just want to point out one thing about that venue. I don't know if you remember, or if it was just because I was up in the early morning and the late night, but fog would roll in over the valleys.
Oh, yeah,
fill
absolutely.
it up, and it felt like you were standing in the clouds.
Yeah.
It just was really special.
Oh, no. Absolutely, man. I missed that. That's that place out there. And, you know what, man, another one here. All right, so there's 2 here. Here, Yarmany Grass, here.
So Rancho Del Rio up in Bond, Colorado.
Rancho Del Rio, Yarmany Grass here. I have a lot of fond memories about that place with some people that I know of, but I ain't gonna hint no names. But yeah, just the fact that there's this restaurant that sits right there, like in the middle of this place called the like, you could help me out with it. Is it the
It's KK's Barbecue at the center of the universe.
The center of the universe. Just the fact of that place along with the river. But let's talk about KK's.
So I was going to say, I'm rolling up my sleeves. For anybody who doesn't have a visual on this, I'm pulling my sleeves up because there's so much to say. But I do want to say just a quick couple of things. When you roll in there, you never know how long it's going to be till you get your food. You don't know if she's going to start cooking it then, or she's going to tell you to fuck off for an hour or two because you're making her uncomfortable while you're waiting for her. I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yes.
Do you remember the story about the ribs, where you were going to roll up and order some ribs, and Murray and I told you not to do it?
Listen, I'm from Florida. I'm Southern. I see some ribs on the menu, I'm getting them. What? Give me the rib, dude. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. I was like, what are you? Are you insane? We are out here. I'm by the water. They got ribs on the menu. I'm going in. Murray, Justin, like, Rosie, don't do it. I'm like, listen, I know it's late or it's early, whichever one. I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. I'm finna get some ribs. Sure enough, I order my ribs. It smelled good. I'm ready. I am so ready. I'm finna tear into these juicy ribs that I done paid like a lot of money for. Paid a ton of money.
That's another thing.
Yeah, you know. And man, I go bite my big bite and I bite the bone. I'm up like yo, Justin, where's the meat?
I don't know if there was some confusion or what the deal was, but there was just bones pretty much.
Where's the meat? Like on this big bone. I'm like, Justin, all right, let me try this other bone I got. Justin, where's the meat on my bone?
I mean, at that point, you're no better than a dog. You're just basically a rancho dog chewing on bones, man.
At that point, it was just the experience that was great.
Okay, so you named a few of your favorite venues. Actually, before we move on, I want to tell the story about when we're sitting around KK's barbecue. Murray's a friend of ours from New Jersey, and KK, the CEO of KK's barbecue, she calls him Jersey. And Jersey will sit there and he will order food randomly for people sitting around the little hut. So all of a sudden you're not expecting it. And the next thing you know, there's a home wrecker sitting in front of you.
A home wrecker. Now, Justin, what is a home wrecker?
I believe a home wrecker is a hamburger with an Italian sausage split open on it and maybe bacon, maybe like jalapeno or something, or peppers. But either way, it's going to run you about $50. I'm just kidding.
No. But the hot dog is long as hell.
That would be, I think, why it's called a home wrecker, and that's not lost on KK, who loves hot dogs that are long as hell, probably. So, all right, so let's continue on with our favorite venues. You have named some of my all-time favorite venues
Yes.
thus far, and just some really special places. So I love how this list has already started.
Yeah. You know what? Hold on. I'm sorry. One more for you. Telluride. Such a beautiful place. Is that south here? Or
It's like Southwest.
southwest? Such a beautiful town. Such a beautiful place. When you're playing, like you can see the entire mountain right in front of you. And that has to be like in the top 3 too. Yeah. Okay. Just to put that out there.
Absolutely, yeah. So what else comes to mind, or do you have honorable mentions? Or I think we've done 4 so far. You've named.
Yeah.
Do you have one in mind, or do you have?
Man, I've oh yeah, well of course it's the legendary, which I've played out, Red Rocks. You know that was a bucket list for us to play on some capacity, which we did it, which is still a bucket list for us to do.
So you played with Bocante, which I remember standing at the top of Red Rocks looking down at Red Rocks and over Denver, Colorado, and saying one day you're going to play this venue. And I remember we were stoked about the prospect of that one day being true, and you did that with Bocante.
Right.
I would love to see you do it with the Roosevelt Collier Band at some point, which I'm sure we're not far off on that.
Yes.
In addition to it being an incredible venue, the vibe there and the people and everything, it's a really special place. If you haven't been there, make it a point to go there. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And when you're sitting on that Red Rock stage and you're looking up at that crowd, what is that feeling like, other than making fun of me? And I remember you pointed me out and you were making fun of me. I might have even been crying. I can't remember.
Man cry, yes. Of course you were. Of course you were. You know why? Because the fact that I also played with Humphreys that night.
That was awesome.
That same night. So
what's it like? Say when you're standing there with Humphreys and you're looking up at a sold out Red Rocks and the lights are flashing. And
well, so that feeling was everything that I thought it would be. Just first of all, being on that stage, officially playing with a sold out crowd, and you can, man, I'm sorry, there's no feeling to kind of like explain it. I thought it was, but man, just to see all of the lights hitting off of the rocks, it's an amazing view. That's number one. Then number two, to see the crowd and hear the crowd playing in that moment with your favorite band, man, that's a whole different aspect. That's number 3. But man, just to hear my steel coming through them speakers, I was like, oh, it is on and popping.
It's a lot of sound, a lot of decibels.
Oh man, it is definitely like one of my top 5 feelings in playing.
Stay tuned to Galaxy Tenants for part 2 of our conversation with Roosevelt Collier, as well as special guest Andy Thorne from Leftover Salmon.
Thank you for listening to Galaxy Tenants. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. For early access to episodes and exclusive content, check us out on Patreon. Also, if you'd like to communicate with us, send an email to galaxytenants@gmail.com or leave a voicemail on the Galaxy Tenants hotline at 303-550-2065.